Call the meeting. And we'll call the meeting to order for the Lake Lincoln Conservancy District. And this is our April 23rd, 2026 meeting. So with that, public comment. We have one member of the public. Any comments today?
No,
Okay,
no,
thank you for coming.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay.
I'm providing a service of making it a public meeting.
Okay, there you go. There you go. We're officially public. Okay. Next item on the agenda is approval of board meetings, of the minutes of the board meeting minutes from last meeting, which was held on February 26th, 2026. Does anyone have any edits to
The
that?
date, right, Tyler?
I've got a comment on that. I didn't forgot to bring my sheet in, so I won't be able to quote it. But in the manager's report, Adam mentions that he sounds like the way he wrote the line item, that we reduced taxes by 14% on this and 14% on that, rather than the percentage of total tax decreased because the other rates went up. We didn't actually do anything. It happened naturally. So I think that ought to be clarified.
All right, the rate decreased, not what we requested.
Correct.
Right.
It's the overall percentage of total less.
Okay, any other changes?
Well, under I guess it was the manager's report, I guess under that geese control, I guess I didn't recall us talking about introducing coyotes. Did we say that?
Yeah. Steve brought that
Okay.
up.
I'm like, that sounds brutal. But anyway.
Fake coyotes.
Fake coyotes,
Plastic one.
plastic coyotes.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, maybe at that, I'm just like, what did we're really gonna do that?
So the geese get used to them and they don't know.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta move.
Yeah, I
You
know.
have to
Had one of
move.
those fake
I mean,
ones. Okay, so if there's no additional edits, we'll entertain a motion.
I will so move.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I'm abstaining because I wasn't here. Okay, motion passes. Meetings minutes have been accepted. So the next item on the agenda is the treasurer's report.
Okay. Well, I'll start with a quick overview of the February financials. You have February and March in your packets, but for February 28th, 2026, it would be page 10 of your PDF if you downloaded the, full board packet. We have $817,000 in CDs in the general fund, $665,000 in our savings account, and we have $239,000 in our construction account. But some of those, we actually have more for construction, but it is invested in CDs, and we are tracking that separately. On the fixed assets, I sent a note to Yvonne today. We still need, I think, Adam, to add that new truck to that 1510 line item. We purchased the truck in January for $37,999. And so when you look in the net asset section, it tracks that we have net income at that point of, or a loss of 27,125, and really the P&L shows 60-some thousand because of that truck. So there are a couple minor classifications that need to get made. But overall bonds payable of 915,000 and total equity of about 1.4 million. As far as the February P&L, just a few things to highlight. We had total income of about $75,000, of which 13,750 are sublease fees. And then the biggest part of that was the drawdown or closeout of our account at Brown County Community Foundation, which was about $54,000. On the expense side for February, we had $52,000 in total expenses, Major things there were $5,400 for the signs and nautical markers, 22,000 for insurance, and $5,200 for water testing. So overall, we had net income, if you will, of 21,000 for February. Any questions or comments on the February financials? Hearing none, I would like to move on and ask for an approval of the February claims, and I'm paging down through all these reconciliations to get to them. Totaling $43,100.08, and that is comprised of net payroll of $8,173.95, and then total claims of $34,926.13. And I just mentioned the largest percentage of those being the insurance at 22,000, the water testing, and the buoys and the markers. Are there any questions on those claims for February? If none, I guess I would ask for a motion to approve the claims for February totaling $43,100.08.
Moved.
I'll second.
Okay.
Righty.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify with an eye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No one's opposed. Motion carries.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the March financial statements. Not a lot of change in March 30th in terms of total assets. The 817,000 in CDs, our savings account at a little over 600,000, and our construction cash that we have on hand of just around 240,000. So total checking and savings at 1.8 million almost. Fixed assets at probably just under 600,000. Well, I guess that truck is reclassified there.
Yeah, I had her do the
541,000.
double entry for that
Okay.
most recent one, so.
Okay, well, that's good. Then we'll still have to talk about those net assets. That didn't seem to quite work out in that section. Our liabilities are just our payroll withholdings, as always, $3,800, bonds payable $915,000. Total equity, $1,393,140. And that is where that difference is, Adam. I think I sent you and Yvonne that message that net income, the net loss here shows at 29,049, but that truck is still showing on the P&L. And so we show year-to-date loss on our P&L of like 67,000. Part of it's just this good old government accounting. For the actual month of March, starting to sell those water permits, just a little under $6,000 in water permits, $9,400 in our sublease fees, and those are the biggest income items. So total income of $20,613.80. On the expense side, we had $60,537.14 in expenses, which gave us a loss for the month of March of about almost $40,000. Hopping back up under our expenses, we paid $28,565. That is the bathhouse renovation, I believe, Adam,
Yes.
out of the Park Capital Improvement Fund. And insurance, we paid $7,400 for, and those were kind of the largest things besides salaries. Any questions or comments on the March financial? I feel like it's kind of futile to do any kind of budget comparison because, our season really hasn't begun yet and we're too early into the year. The money that we did get from Brown County, I do want to be sure that you guys realize, and I meant to mention this, that if you looked at these cash reconciliations, you can see clearly that money went into the construction fund. If there are no questions or comments, I guess I would move on to ask for a motion to approve the March report of claims that total $53,282.19. That's comprised of payroll of about $9,445, and then regular claims or vendors or creditors, if you will, of $43,837.55. And again, pretty much the biggest pieces that you could pull out are the ones I mentioned: insurance of $7,400, the bathhouse at $28,500, and we purchased some stone for like $1,500. Are there any questions or comments or anything that you want to add, Adam?
No, I really just haven't gotten into the season yet. It's not a whole lot of revenue as far as the user side. Past sales, primarily sublease. We're just starting to see that pick up. This month, though, at the office, we really increased our sales. A lot more people coming through. So we'll see the revenue start coming up. It is getting very warm early on. Last year, it didn't start raining until almost July. So I think we will see an increase in daily revenue for this month this year.
You know, one thing missing is, you may have gotten it already, is our spreadsheet to do, close out for our first batch of permits, so,
Still have that coming.
yeah.
How often do you close those out, Steve? Is it monthly or?
It's usually every couple of months. It depends on the volume of sales. So we'll kind of give them an initial batch, close out, and then usually when they need more passes, as we'll go ahead and close out the last batch that we gave them. So it's usually three times.
Two or three times a season, yeah. 3 times, I think, yeah.
Okay, so it's probably totaling like how many dollars that's going to be coming?
Gosh.
10 to 20,000.
Yeah, I would say in the mid-teens, probably pushing 20,000.
Yeah. Okay. Good deal. Could I have a motion to approve the March claims then?
Motion. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of accepting the claims, signify with an aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. All right.
All right, on the manager's report.
Yep, we're moving to the manager's report, and we'll hear from Adam.
All right, first we had the fireworks contract on there. I don't have one right now. We are working to get that. The insurance companies for all these regional guys dropped them about 2 months ago. And so the insurance or the company that shot off for the past about 10 years is no longer doing it. They said the licensing's changed for the permits. And then the insurance cost went from a couple $100 a show to $2,500 to $3,000 a show. So right now we are working with 2 other companies to see which one will be able to shoot it off. It will be on that Friday, the 3rd. I was really hoping to do the 4th, and I thought we had that locked in until the company kind of backed out. A lot of the
Right.
national companies, with it being the 250th, a lot of them had minimums of $25,000 for shows that weekend. So we're working, it'll either be a company called Ramsey Pyrotechnics out of Indy or Wisely Pyrotechnics, who's actually the one that sells all the shells to these companies. So they're both working out and to see who can get a crew force out here. So we're planning for Friday, July 3rd for the fireworks. We'll see how it compares. It was nice having the local guys doing it, so we'll see what it tastes like with a little bit of the bigger production companies.
Yeah, can we afford it?
Yeah, so we have our budget. So both those companies, I've let them know we have a $12,500 willing to work with it.
Oh, okay.
It's just going to be what percentage of that goes to shells versus.
Yeah.
So those we're shooting for Friday, the 3rd, to go off. A rain date would have to be a separate weekend. There's everything's booked out from those companies that weekend. So you'd either have to look at Sunday night or the next weekend. The federal holiday is Friday, so I really wouldn't want to do anything on Sunday night just because I'm assuming everybody will be back to work on Monday from the holiday weekend.
How soon do you think you'll have that hammered out, Adam?
This week, I'm waiting to hear back tomorrow to see exactly which company it is. So
So what, don't we typically get pretty healthy donations?
yeah, we do. We always recoup the funds. I want to say last year we had maybe 4,000 or so from residents, and then we brought in close to 15 or 16,000 day of. But we budget 12,500 for the show. So.
Is it purely, are they even gonna get their permit? Or is it purely the insurance, or is it both?
It was both. I think they changed the permitting stipulations for these more regional shows and then the insurance. They said it's just been a nightmare to do it. So Monroe County's scrambling right now. Ellettsville, all these companies that they shop for kind of just got this notice. So it would have been nice had we known earlier on. But we'll get something exploding in the sky Friday. Where we are in that, then I will send out once we have that hammered in. The contract would be the same as in the past, the insurance requirements, the date, so that will all stay how it has been in the past.
Yeah, say if it was just the insurance cost, I'm sure we could come up with that money.
That's what I said. I was like, we can subsidize.
No, and I'm not saying us, I'm saying I could send a couple texts right now and probably secure that for having
Exactly. Yeah.
having it on the fourth.
And that's what I was trying to really push to. I'm like, we can raise that money for the insurance costs, and I could not get the fights on that. So we'll send something out as soon as we know which company that is. But it's looking like we'll have one for Friday the 3rd. Okay. Next, we have the 2026 Board of Directors Conflict of Interest. This is a requirement from the State Board of Accounts that's signed every year from all board members, essentially disclosing if you have any financial interests in dealings with the Conservancy District. As of now, Steve Warner has submitted his standalone document, which is included in this for the Lake Lemon Marina. And really, I just need to ask if anybody else has anything that they need to disclose as far as financial interests and dealings with the Conservancy Districts. If there's not, I would request a motion to approve and to accept the submittal from Stephen Warner for the Lake Lemon Marina. And then we'll send this out to everybody. We'll have to get everybody's signature on this.
And is it the same as it's always been?
It's exactly the same as it's always been. Yeah, it's the standard state form. So there's nothing new on there changed.
Okay.
I guess I'm not understanding why we need to approve the conflict of interest form.
Mostly it'd be acknowledging that we received the specific disclosure about the Lake Lemon Marina. I mean, so I guess we could acknowledge that, but then we'll all have to sign off on that.
So keeps it in the daylight.
Yeah.
So you need a motion.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do a motion just so we have it on there.
I will move that we accept the
Second.
conflict of
Okay,
interest.
you have a motion and a second. There's no further discussion. All in favor, signify with an eye.
Does that, wait a second, does that say, I'd had to go back and look at the wording on that, but specifically would say if you have a conflict, you recuse yourself from anything that might come up that it's related to your conflict. Is that what it says?
On the form, there's a spot to fill out if you had a specific conflict that we would put on.
On the form. So what's he have?
He disclosed the Lake Lemon Marina.
Oh, just the fact that he has
Just
a marina.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's been this way for decades.
Yeah, so we all sign off on there. So there's a section that shows entity, organization, and association. So we would put additional information if you had something to disclose or business dealings on that form, which is page 68 of the packet.
Page 68. I'm looking at that real quick here.
Well, on page 72 kind of describes.
Right.
And 72 is the specific Stephen Warner for the marina.
I remember saying something about refusals. So it is covered.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. Obviously, we elected Stephen, to the board with that. I just, most organization I've audited, all board members have to fill out a conflict of interest. Are you going to send us a PDF?
Yeah, we'll send an Adobe sign. So on that page 68 is a spot for signatures from everybody. So we will send this out to via Adobe sign for everybody to sign off on.
Okay, any further discussion, questions?
No.
Still have a motion pending in a second, so we'll take a vote on that. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No opposed, and I assume, Steve, you recused, right?
Right, yes.
Okay, all right, so motion carries, and we can move on.
Next, I have a PowerPoint that we created just because some of the stuff's a lot easier visually. So that pops up there. The bathhouse renovations are coming along. We definitely ran into some redoing cement, a little bit of structural. We needed some tuck pointing and repouring a little bit of the footer. So we are running behind a little bit, but it should be completed next week. The left is what it looked like before. The right is our new painting and colors. The roof looks a lot more blue on these big screens than it is in real life. So it's more of a green color, but it looks very sharp together. Just for some remembering on what it looks like on the inside, very rough. I've noticed even with the newer pictures, it's hard to get a flattering shot of a very narrow bathroom. The picture on the left is what it looked like after we took out the partitions in there, and you can kind of see the old ceiling and lights, the walls and the tile that was coming off. That picture on the right, that's showing where we poured all the new cement. That we actually had to replace footer and redo some of the brickwork on the entrance there on the women's side. These are some of the newer photos. So that picture on the left is essentially the same angle as the center photo here now. So this is what the bathrooms look like. We have all the drop ceiling LEDs in there. We were able to put in, there's an ADA compliant restroom in both sides of the men's and the women's. Have the new partitions. The flooring, we had initially looked at doing epoxy. With being over the holding tank, we did have to do a change order and actually use the polished concrete and aggregate. And there was a good skin that went over it. Companies that were fixing on the slab and then doing it, they just said there's too much moisture, and then the epoxy would release from that and start to green. But it looks very good in there in person. So that should be wrapped up. They'll be functional as of tomorrow, and then they should be wrapped up next week for everything. So it was a huge change in to see this entirely new building, inside and out, which is awesome. At the Indiana Lakes Management Conference, which came last week, Lake Lemon did receive the Outstanding Lake Association Award for the State of Indiana Lakes Management Society. It's like to tune our Only one of those gets given out a year, and those are nominated by the board from the Indiana Lakes Management Society, which I'm no longer on for about 10 years. The numbers from that. So they look at conservancies and other lake associations, like implementing their projects, kind of what they're doing. So I got to give a little speech during that and accept the award. And kind of the biggest stuff, which it's always nice to go back and reflect on what we've done, is reclaimed over 100 plus surface acres, close to 500,000 cubic yards over the 20 years. Most recently, we did 150,000 plus with mechanical. Then between 22 and 24, we did a little over 275,000 cubic yards. And with that project alone, we reclaimed close to 80 surface acres of boating area for safe recreation. In addition, we've stabilized over 2.5 miles of shoreline on the riprap. We do have $10,000 budgeted for continuing to do that work, and we'll make sure to get those monies on the ground this year. Doing our weekly testing for bacteria, cyanotoxin, and we are stepping that up to look at additional toxins and increasing inside the lake testing for this year. And then our invasive species management, we treat 30 plus acres annually, primarily Eurasian water milfoil. And then one of the biggest ones that we've gotten a project implementation award before was from the dredging. And we got a lot of kudos for being able to reuse that dredge material to create a 17-acre treatment wetland. And be able to get the permitting and everything to pull that off. So that was a lot of fun to talk about and toot our own horn. It's always nice to go back and kind of look at what we have done, as a conservancy district. So one of the most active, probably the most active in the state as far as active management of the district. So good job, everybody, and staff and board members for letting us do that. You gonna take on this next guy?
I'll start with a little staff update. We're fully staffed now, so 4 gatehouse staff, 2 are new, 2 are returning, still a little bit of experience, which is good for me because this is my first year. We got our park and lake patrol staff hired as well, and we'll also have an intern who I believe he was past gatehouse staff, so we can kind of plug him in wherever we need. So should be all hands on deck. Well, the 2 new gatehouse staff they've already been trained. They've been working the past few weekends. So if weather permits, we plan to continue doing that really until the season, until the park officially opens. They've been doing good. So beach sampling for the water quality will start this week. We got our beach inspection next week. So things are starting to move along in the park as far as I can tell. Again, it's my first year, but I think we're doing well. And speaking of that, the DNR boat, to get to that, the DNR boat's now on the lake. It's in their lift on that dock they have. So I don't know if they started patrolling quite yet, but I assume, again, closer to official park open, start coming out, especially on the weekends, I imagine. But I think, did you guys want to segue into talking about that airboat?
Yeah, we can.
Just so that picture is of the DNR lift.
Yeah,
That's
correct. That's a new
their
dock.
property, not ours.
Yeah, so it's right behind the office in our equipment cove. That's their lift, their boat. They have been out on the weekends and they're fully staffed now, so they can in and out as they see fit in the area. To piggyback on the park, next Monday we're going to be prepping for the blacktop work, and then Tuesday and Wednesday actually doing all the blacktop work in the park. So beach is ready to go. We got our the buoy swim system in this week with our testing going on. With how warm it's gotten, our plan is once we get our permit next week is to start opening, kind of like soft opening on the weekend. So we've had people wanting to come out and use the park once we have our permit, so we can open up on Saturdays and Sundays. Ideally beginning next weekend to capture some of that revenue, since we do have gatehouse staff that can work that full time. And then Chris will be transitioned as well and working on the weekends there. So plan to open up about 3 weeks early on the weekends, just because it's gotten nice out there already. So we are ready to go for that.
So you have the swim buoy set up now at the beach?
Correct. Yeah, they're there. So, and then we just got sand delivered today. So that bottom left picture is the sand that we got shot out. And then that middle picture is us putting out the beach buoy system on Tuesday, I believe. So yeah, have IU's doing our first sampling this week, and then Tuesday we have our inspection with the health department. So we're ready to go. Everything's looking good out there, and I think it should be a very nice year out there with all the improvements that we've done around the park. So, and then that brings us to, we've had a complaint from a couple residents, 2 board members, and then also board members that have noticed an activity.
Is that done with that presentation now?
I can pull that down. There's a
Okay,
couple.
we can't see you guys if we are, but that's fine. It's all right. It's all good.
I can unshare that and drop back into there. Can you see us now?
Yes.
So we have had a resident call the office on Monday. I forget exactly which Sunday it was, but airboat was out between 2 and 4 in the morning. Or assuming carp fishing, they go out and they bow fish for carp. And the airboats can go in very shallow areas. So they were out there between 2 and 4 in the morning with the spotlights, and being an airboat, it sounds like a miniature plane going across the water. So I did have a request to bring that up for a discussion. I have notified the DNR, the conservation officers. There are no laws against airboats utilizing the water when it's open. And that includes at nighttime as far as what DNR can enforce legally. That being said, you have to go no wake less than 10 miles per hour between dawn and dusk. So if they were in fact, hightailing or speeding at nighttime, then that's something that the DNR can potentially ticket for an infraction. The difficult thing is the time frame that they were there. Last year they showed up as well. I think we had a couple days of complaints again during this carp spawning season, and then we didn't hear from them again. And we've gone back and looked at our recordings and videos, and I think last year we kind of deduced that they were likely coming down the creek because we didn't have video on them launching from either Lake Lemon or from Myrtle Point Park or from the marina. You guys would know because you have the gates there. So I do believe they are coming down from
Where do they put
Blossom
in?
Creek.
That's my question.
I mean, there's a couple ramps in Dean Blossom Creek that are on people's private property outside of the Conservancy District. I have not noticed an airboat sitting there. That being said, we do cruise up and look for debris and stuff. So if I notice an airboat sitting next to a home, one thing I could,
Well, there's
Just
a bunch there's several old ramps like off Aqua Isle, isn't there, where all the houses were.
Yeah, the house, there's probably
They could
3 or
just be
4.
putting in at a random ramp
Yeah, that's true.
that they shouldn't be using,
Well, there's a place in between, our neighbors, Matt Smith and the doctor's house, across from the beach where, it's not chained off or anything. And I think that, previous owners used to let people use it. They really shut that down a lot. But, I just wonder because, I mean, I've gotten some serious complaints. I mean, these people say the lights are shining really bright. These people that live at the end of Jarrett Road in my district, so that's way up there, and the noise is unbearable and it's keeping residents up all night long. And we traded some emails about that, I think, and I don't know, Les seemed to think that Corder Sweetwater basically doesn't allow them at all. I mean, I don't think we can just say, like it kind of went on last year and nobody did anything about it. I don't think we can just not do anything. I think we need to explore our avenues to be able to do something to shut it down. It's my opinion.
So do we think they have a muffler or not? I mean, did the DNR say anything about it?
No, I mean,
Because that's a voting law that I quoted in my email. So they could nail them on that if they have cutouts or no muffler.
Yeah. And I mean, even muffled, those, like when aquatic control is out treating, I mean, it sounds like an airplane.
Yeah, the fan itself makes
They're
it
so
loud.
Yeah. But I mean, my other thing is both the city and the county have noise ordinances. And if there's a big party going on, the police will come out and shut it down. I mean, and this is no different. But my question is, are we gonna get into some finger pointing thing where the city goes, well, you know, the complaint's coming from county resident, and then the county sheriff says, well, yeah, but the violator's on city property. So I don't know how we would resolve that.
Yeah, I mean, the conservation officers will not enforce city or county statutes. They will only enforce
Yeah.
the state statutes. So that's what
Or lake, so even if we banned it, they wouldn't.
even if we banned it, they would not enforce that.
We don't even know who it is.
Right.
It's tricky. And
You'd have to be waiting for him at like 2, 3, 4 in the morning or something, you know, to catch him, if you will. Because you looked, Malcolm, and you didn't see any evidence on your security cameras.
Oh, I did. No, I could see them come and go. I think they come up the creek. Because I've seen them, this is the third year at least that they've been there. Last 2 years I saw them personally.
But if they're all the way down in Debbie's area, they're on the lake, so,
Yeah.
you know, they likely don't have a lake permit.
But is this all summer they do this?
No, it happens once in the spring.
It's just 1 or 2 nights during carp spawn, where the carp are just boiling in the water, basically.
Why at night? Why in the middle of the night?
I think with the
light.
with the spotlights, they can shine it in the shallow areas and see the actual carp.
And then they just use a bow and arrow. Is that what you said?
Yeah,
Adam?
they use a bow with a reel on it. Because we have, as far as active management, I have been approached every year about people wanting to host carp fishing bow tournaments between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. I have staunchly refused to allow that.
Good for you.
To not encourage that. I mean, so we have not, through our avenue, we have not allowed them to come out to have any type of tournaments. And then we have had people call the office and ask for permission. And then I mentioned noise and the lights and that kind of stuff. And they said they'd be like, well, we just won't go out there then. So as far as people that we
What's
have,
the downside of, at least, I mean, I know it wouldn't be, maybe not enforceable and you have to be out in the middle of the night and catch them, but couldn't we at least as a board on, you know, paper, take a position that we do ban that activity? Why can't we do that?
I mean,
I mean, it's not like these people were like, we're making any big money out of them. They're just disrupting our freeholders, you know?
yeah, I mean, I suppose you could do a resolution that did that. We'd have to put stipulations as far as timing. The bad thing is it happens once or twice, and while a nuisance, and I don't want to downplay that, it's not something that occurs all the time. So I mean, we could do a resolution talking about timeframes between, you know, dusk and dawn about types of boats that we are running. I guess that would be an activity, you know, that I would show that we take a stance, but again, it
Well,
comes to the.
you know, DNR has just this year passed a carp harvest permit. Doesn't cost anything, but you have to notify them like 48 hours before you go out to harvest carp. And
Oh,
the goal is to get the invasive carp out.
I don't say is that specific.
They
to the
can take
Asian
as
carp?
many as they want. You can seine for them, and you can take them by about any method.
I think that is for the Asian or big eye carp is the other name.
I actually printed it out. It's silver, big head, grass, and black carp.
And they have unlimited on them.
Yeah.
So that would be one avenue I could follow up to see if they've had anybody apply for a carp harvest, but they're not going to give us the information.
And they're not, I mean, it's just
No.
completely, anything we do is completely unenforceable. If we start doing
Right.
resolutions, like I said, before we started, this person is a troll. They thrive on social media, on people getting upset about it. A resolution would just, I mean, I get your, like, it's an unenforceable resolution, which just is like, they're gonna love it. I mean, it's like,
Oh, it's fair.
Yeah, it's the sad reality of it is this person, I mean, cause they'll post on when people are complaining anonymously and, you know, I'm coming out tomorrow, and then they do. I don't-
Well, if anybody sees that, if anybody sees him saying I'm coming out tomorrow, then let us know. And we can have a staff camp out
And then what?
and yeah,
I mean,
we'll chat with them. Yeah, exactly.
Well, we find out who they are. And then, I mean,
Yeah, we can't enforce anything.
Unless they're speeding or something like that.
That's the thing is if they're speeding,
but even then, we can't do anything.
yeah, it would be.
So like,
DNR would have to be here between
Yeah.
2 and 4.
There are no noise ordinances, nothing.
Well, that's what I'm saying, they are breaking the noise ordinances, you know? And, you know, if we could get sheriff on board and say, well, you know, or maybe we ought to just ask him, well, you know, would you guys be willing to help us on this?
I think that's the,
Somehow.
yeah, talk to the
It's
county.
more likely the county would, the sheriff's department, because I don't think the city's gonna come out here,
No,
No, I can reach out to
especially in the
the.
middle of the night, the county.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we gotta start there and ask, is there anything we can do and
With the
would you be
sheriff.
willing? If we knew, if this person says I'm coming out and we kind of know what's happening, or
Yeah.
it's happening real time, is it appropriate for us to call the non-emergency line and ask them to do something? Is there something to do and will you?
And
Yeah,
I
well,
can reach out to the sheriff.
and they
that's
do
the-
have people on 24/7, you know, so now they're in a boat, sheriff isn't, but.
Right,
you
yeah,
know,
they could,
But maybe you can at least get an ID on them, get the, you know, their registration number if they even have one. So,
You'd have to figure out where the trailer was. I mean, you'd have to figure out where the boat trailer was for the sheriff to do anything.
I can reach out to the sheriff and see if a potential noise ordinance violation. would be
yeah, now,
something.
the problem though, they're probably putting in Brown County, but causing
Yeah.
trouble in Monroe County. And
It
I,
cause a lot of trouble in Brown County, trust me. They've modified that boat. Audit control goes by my house every year and I can hear it, but it's not. And that boat will get you out of a deep sleep.
Really,
There's something, he's done something different to that boat.
yeah.
She's right, it's like a Harley, it's not like.
I mean, they run
It's not a
Chevy,
motorcycle,
they
it's a
run
Harley.
like Chevy small blocks on there, those open headers and
It's just
stuff.
straight line.
Exactly, and that's, yeah, well, what I can do is reach out to the sheriff then and see if it's something enforceable as far as a noise ordinance violation.
I mean, if we find out that they would be willing and it is enforceable, then, you know, there's probably some ways to figure this out. I mean, got a pile of cellular trail cams that are just sitting around doing nothing in my house and, you know. There's options to figure out where they're coming from and narrow it down.
Does anybody, I mean, have we had an incident on the lake since that Sunday? I don't think we have. I'll reach out to the sheriffs. I mean, the analog would be like, is it illegal to drive a modified Trans Am around the city at nighttime?
It's not,
It's not illegal.
no, you're not allowed to. There's a.
Oh, really?
There's
For
a
the vehicles?
vehicle, yeah, there's a vehicle noise ordinance.
Okay. All right. Well, then let me reach out to the sheriff and see if that's something
I
that,
don't know off the top of my head, but the water temperature probably dictates carp spawn.
it does.
So if we know that temperature and monitor, you have a pretty good clue when what's going.
Yeah, well, it's ongoing right now. It's like that low to mid 60s, and that's where we're at right now. I mean, with how warm it's been, I'm suspecting it will be too high. I think right now will be that high activity time.
I might get some earplugs for Sunday evening.
yeah,
Well, what I'll do is I'll reach out to the sheriff and see if a noise ordinance would be enforceable.
and you might also mention to the conservation officers that it does sound like they're running with cutouts or no muffler,
Yeah,
which is enforceable by them.
yes.
Because it's in their part of the Indiana code.
And that's what I can say is that from what we've heard, they're running wide open at night and it sounds modified. All right, well, I'll reach out to both of those. Yes.
If you type in in.gov and in the search bar at the bottom, lake rules, perfect example is Griffey Lake in Bloomington. I would call them and see how they enforce their rules. They have 6 or 7 rules that they have on the website, on the INDNR website. I would be curious to see how they enforce those rules. If you know the guy
Access.
over there.
They enforce it by
What kind of
access.
rules do they have listed, Mike?
Abandoning watercraft, they only allow electric trolling motors. You can have a gas motor on your boat, but you cannot use it. How do they enforce that on the lake? They got to have some kind of enforcement.
They
It
just,
has one point of access. They can control it by regulating access. Our problem is that there's multiple access points and we can't control all of them. If we could just shut down the marina and the park, we'd have control.
So then that goes back to, if we make a rule, then we can enforce it. So I mean, we would have to make the rule.
yeah, then you'd have to look at, I mean, going as far as the enforcement that we could do, and it's been discussed in the past, as you could make access with our lease with the city of Bloomington Utilities. We have to provide access at reasonable hours. So I mean, you could do something similar to the marina where at nighttime you'd have to have like a key card or something. But then we're investing in gates and that kind of stuff. And then if they're coming down the creek, then it's a lot more access potential points.
You're pretty sure they're coming down the creek, right?
I think, yeah, we've gone back and checked our cameras last year and this year, and I've seen fishermen out there, but just normal boats at nighttime, nothing for their boat. So let me reach out to both of the law enforcement agencies, then we can go from there, and I can report back, see what we can find out. Share.
This is kind of random, but in relation, like in reading the minutes, and at some point, Adam, are we going to talk a little bit more about the strategy? I know our operations supervisor has talked about, trying to enhance, the fish and the size of the fish that we get to, get more fishing tournaments out there. And I guess I just think we need to really think through that, because it's not like we make a ton of money from fishing tournaments. And over the years that I've served on the board, a lot of people get aggravated with a lot of the fishermen. And so anyway, I just want to throw that out there. You don't have to respond to it, but I'm just think that we need to kind of be behind whatever strategy you guys are thinking of in that regard. It ties into this airboat thing, and I kind of agree with
and
Mike
on that,
we should do something.
we are collecting data this year for the boat registrations. We've actually put in if people are anglers, lake tow sports, or pleasure boaters. So we are collecting data when we sell the annual passes, just so we can come back and actually look at. I want to know what percentage of our non-resident lake users are there for angling, or are there for, just pleasure boating, that kind of thing. Because we haven't had that data in the past. And I agree, we kind of max out on the tournaments because we only allow them, we don't allow them in July or August. So we have about the same amount of tournaments each year, but we are collecting data to see what percentage of our non-residents are out there for fishing. So we're not going to go forward with any major plans or strategy now until we have kind of that data there. So we're not going to make any big promotional changes or anything like that.
It is worth noting though that fishing tournaments is a very minuscule amount of actual fishing. So this is anecdotal and we haven't seen much, but I've only had a handful of people come in who don't fish so far. So
Oh yeah.
there's also the fact that we're supposed to manage the ecosystem as well. So I put a lot of fun into it.
Yeah, well, doesn't DNR have some, mechanism to get this kind of help and management from their fish and wildlife folks? I mean, they do stuff at Lake Monroe and all that.
They have a grant program that's for projects specifically like this. So the ideal would be for us to not have to put any money towards it on our end. So
I mean, just even doing a survey might help.
Yeah, so we were as far as like a fishery survey.
Yeah.
So I do want to put in the budget for next year. We haven't done a fish survey. You remember the last time? Was it like 16?
Almost 10 years.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think it was 2016, the last time that actually we did a fishing survey where they do electrofishing all night long.
Oh, who did that, DNR?
Aquatic control, so since we're not at DNR Lake, DNR will not.
Oh, they don't want to.
No, they won't do that. They've come out before to do consumption testing for toxicity in meat. So they did that maybe 4 years ago, and they go around and do a sampling to look for consumption advisories. But as far as the full scale fish survey, I think that'd be something.
I didn't
good
know
to
that
have.
was a fish safe to eat.
Yeah, our watershed's
Eat 'em a
pretty
lot.
clean, so. That's good, but yeah, there's nothing on the docket to go out and increase fishing tournaments, that kind of stuff right now.
Well, when you talk about the comment made about this project and grants for projects like this, I was a little confused. Are you saying just to do the survey or what? It sounds like you guys have a project in mind. So you can leave it there. I don't want to drone on it. But I mean, if there's endangered, if, we don't have the fish that we should, have, and there's some kind of ecological or problem with the water or whatever it is, then that's like a whole nother deal. But just so that we can have a fisherman come out and say, I caught the biggest bass I ever caught at Lake Lemon. Personally, I'm just not sure we want to do that.
I think that all that comes back to understanding what percentage are even there for fishing for like our pass holders. I think that's a data collection this year, I think, is before any management decisions are made.
Is there a way to capture that info on the daily passes?
Yeah.
We keep a log when we issue. So I could tell you, most of them are for fishing that we do.
Yeah, I mean, for now, I would say 99% of our dailies are fishermen until we get into the season. Almost all the dailies, and we could capture that. I'm gonna go through so many dailies in the summertime, but it's always got to be like 90% plus are there for fishing. Especially dailies, like most, even the non-resident pleasure boaters that have pontoons and live local in the area, the majority have pass. But yeah, back to data collection. I think that's all we need is to make type of informed decisions on that.
Okay, cool.
So, all right, there you go. So next up, we did have at the past meeting some questions about sensors on the lake for temperature and lake level. So I was able to talk to some companies at the Indiana Lakes Management. One of the best known ones and one of the only ones there that can actually do lake level as these hobo data loggers. These systems can come with doing water temperature. It can do the actual lake level, and then they're also expandable if you want to get into other parameters. We already have IU doing some of the testing, and you can spend as much money as you want to on sensors, and how much data do we actually need above and beyond what we collect physically. But for just these sensors, for something that you could leave out there and shoot to the cellular data that would come to our information, so like real-time lake level and water temperature, it was about $2,500 for the equipment alone. For deployment, we would either need to put it out on a buoy or create a fixed station location. I did ask about our spillway, which in theory could work part of the time, but if it's during high flow events, the transducers for water depth run off pressure. So if you're in an area where you have congested, very high flow, you have decreased pressure. So that could impact the readings on the sensor. So ideally, we would want to look at like where we had the no wake or the wake zone float, like using something like that out in the middle of the lake. The annual maintenance is you do have to go out monthly to clean these sensors to prevent fouling. Which is just organic growth on the sensor. So you have to go about monthly to clean off these sensors. Ongoing data is about $200 a year for the data plan. And these things shoot data, excuse me, every 5 minutes. So it's constant. And then you do have the expandability in the future. So you can add other parameter sensors on there. So it really comes down to how much we would like to spend to have that kind of data real time on our website.
What's the goal? I mean, what's the?
Well, we've had board members bring it up, and then we've had other people, saying they would like to look at the water temperature and the
Now, I
lake.
don't really remember a big discussion about this. I guess I'd like to know why we need this data and what we would do with it.
Well, once I saw the cost during the discussion was, let's figure out the type of equipment and what it would cost to see if it's feasible. It's feasible to do it. If we're Lake Monroe and our water level changed 17 feet in a given season, I think it would be more, a bigger reason to have that. When we're only changing, a foot or two during these high water events, and then we're going as low as a foot and a half late in the season, I'm not sure it's worth it to have that data, especially when all boats.
Well, I still don't understand what you do with it, Adam. I guess so it's because we can't see it or something, we need real-time information coming to tell us what. People should not be on the lake. People should be like, what's the end?
No, the
game?
data that was requested was just to look at lake level and water temperature. So this is what it would cost to put in a system to do lake level and water temperature.
I think it's more.
So if temperatures got to a certain level, we wouldn't want people in there, or I guess
it's not even. Yeah, it's just
It's just a convenience thing, so people could quickly go on and see kind of where the level was. I think what Adam's alluding to is we asked for this information, he's giving it to us, but the expense probably doesn't justify just having it so that somebody can go on the website, I think.
especially when most boats have a temperature gauge now on stuff. So yeah,
So like in the water.
I'll point this out, though, that the lake level temperature is a good indicator of whether we can even get into the lake. You're coming down from Indianapolis, the roads are flooded if the lake is really high.
right.
Or vice versa, if we have a drought and at some point you need to get your boat off your lift.
That's another, yes.
So I personally think that the level, they would be useful for us freeholders.
So is part of this cost for, this is a phone-based system, right?
correct. Yeah, it's cellular based.
So the one I had was hardwired. If you could want to run a conduit down to the water from the office, that would make it, so there isn't an annual cost or.
Yeah, I mean, the 200 for the year for the data plan, I don't think is exorbitant.
And there was no cost on my data plan.
Yeah, but with it so shallow, like in the cove behind the office, when you only have 4 feet of depth of water, I'm not sure how representative that is.
It's not really.
It'll
Or
tell you.
how, like in the lake, because I think that'll be artificially inflated. Once we're stratified, I think, then I'm not sure.
Oh, you're talking about the temperature, yes.
Yes, for the temperature.
The level, it's obviously,
Yeah.
it is an indicator for the level.
Well, the temperature can vary from one end of the lake to the other,
Well, and
Or
then
the depth of the water.
are you measuring the surface or 10 feet down, or if it's summertime, you're gonna have a thermocline, and so.
And
What-
how many would you need, and who's going to run over them?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we have problems with buoys all the time.
I mean, well, I know we're talking, I understand that there is some value in knowing the lake level, but when we have events where the roads are flooded, it's very obvious that there's a really good, it's not like it was a secret that there was a massive storm that came through. And as far as the level low, it's a gradual thing. It's not like you were there the weekend before and everything was fine, and then all of a sudden the lake is 1.5 feet lower the next weekend when you're coming down. I mean, you have a sense of okay, we haven't had rain, things are going down, I need to get my boat off the lift. It's observational by eyes, I mean, And if you're wondering if the roads are flooded, I mean, that's everywhere. Like you can just go onto the INDOT and lap all the flooded roads.
Yeah, and I'd usually just assume if we have 2 or more inches of rain in a 24-hour period,
It's gonna be flooded.
we're gonna be in flood conditions.
Well, my concern now is the lack of rain. You know, are we gonna get into, dare I say the word drought? But
They're with the super El Nino this year, they're expecting
May's
drier conditions in the Midwest.
I mean, this early in the year in the season,
May is supposed to be
It's-
wet.
Isn't
Yeah, they just said that May was supposed to be.
all right.
they've been talking rain the last couple of weeks and it didn't happen. And there's days they're saying 100%. We didn't get, maybe we got sprinklers. And the wind's been horrible.
But but Brett, are you saying that are we focusing this kind of on freeholders, and you're saying that the people that don't live on the lake all the time or don't have some kind of cameras or data or something that would tell them, or is there any information the office could give, like a lot of times I'll say to Adam, like we were out a few weeks ago and my daughter was like, the lake looks kind of low. And I kind of mentioned that to Adam. He's like, well, not really, so it's just, I don't know. I mean, we've lived out there long enough to where it's flooded and it's been awful and, come up several feet. And I guess I'm just trying to understand the benefit here versus the cost, and do a lot of lakes do this? And
I think from a management perspective, I don't believe the cost is worth it unless you're doing more than trainers. I think it'd be funnier and just as effective to do a weekly video of a staff member jumping in the water off the dock. And it's either like, or it's ooh. I think that we get about the same amount of information out of that.
Well, I'll tell you, I bought one of those home weather kits, where you put this thing on a pole and it's only like $150 or something. And as part of that, I have a water temperature. And I can tell you right now what the water temperature is. And it's cheap, and if once you don't have to sign up for one of those monthly things, you just buy the equipment and it's a done deal. Now you can get, the super program or whatever. I have just the basics and it's free. And I like to keep track of the water temperature for fishing and stuff like that. But it's basically surface temperature. It's off the end of my dock.
And we have surface temperature. I'm going to share this real quick. On our website, on Reed Point, there is a homeowner that has shared that. So we don't have.
That's what I have. It's exactly that.
That is, so we don't have lake level, but we have the surface water temperature on the site. So I don't.
Do you have a camera by the ramp or near the water?
No.
You don't?
Yeah. I have one like coming into the park, but not directly on the water there.
maybe we should get one.
Well, I'm just thinking if you did, you could take like a 3 or 4 inch PVC and embed it in, and you could mark on there.
Yeah.
Where normal level is, and then do 2-inch increments or something like that.
And we could just put up like monthly updates as well, as far as going to taking a physical. I don't know if we need 5-minute intervals throughout the summer.
No.
And I don't want to get into adding other data sensor buoys, because that's a whole other game.
As far as flooding, if you're on, just get on the Lake Lemon Facebook page, people are saying, oh, the gates are closed on Mahaleysville and
Right.
Anderson's closed. And
And I know everybody's not on there, but yeah, if you go on the Lake Lemon page, you'll know within 1 minute if a road's closed.
yeah.
But Adam, where do
Right
we
now,
have
I'm not
cameras? And Adam, where do we have cameras? I know we added them because we've had some issues, with, people that frequent the lake and bad behavior. Is that pretty much on the park? So we don't have anything that points out to the boat ramp or anything?
We have the roads going to the boat ramp, the road coming into the park, so we can capture that data. We're pretty well informed with the cameras.
Okay.
exact locations. We can pretty much track movement through the
Okay,
park.
so do we need a decision?
No,
on
I'm
this?
not hearing enough interest to,
I'd say,
at this point.
right. Let's move on. If we okay with that, to the next topic?
Mhm.
I think we beat that one up pretty good.
Alright, last thing from the PowerPoint, and then we'll jump into the next stuff, is we are doing Lake Lemon shoreline sessions this year. I think one of the learning curves from doing the boogie, I mean, we're still on a biannual basis for the boogie, so it's not going to happen again. But what I wanted to do this year is kind of do something a lot lower cost, lower production. So we've teamed up with the Orbit Room, which is a music venue in town, and we're going to be doing a Sunday series. These are the dates. The first one's coming on May 17th. It's kind of pretty eclectic, like the different bands that are going to come. So it's from 3 to 6 p.m. at the park. Tickets into are $20, and then just the park entry fee. And then really our only cost is I'm turning our old work boat, instead of scrapping it, I'm turning it into a little pontoon stage. That'll be like 20 feet by 10 feet wide, which we can reuse for music series. So that'll really be our only overhead cost on there. Since Orbit Room works with all these bands, they're not requiring money up front. I think he's guaranteed them like $200 a piece. And then if tickets sell really good, a percentage. I'm like, if we have no overhead cost in it, I want gate fees and I want to draw people in. So look forward to that. And we'll be advertising the bands.
So is it in the water then? The boat's in the water?
No, it's going to be, it's on land.
Like you're using it as a stage?
It is, yeah. So we're using the pontoon just for like the, it's pretty eclectic. So this is going to be the shoreline sessions is going to be on the land.
Do you have some bands already lined up?
Yeah, we do. So the first band on the 17th, we have Reggae Union, a reggae band, and we have one called Rear View Ronda, which is a little bit more of a rock type band, and then we have an opener on there. And then some of the other ones we'll start announcing as we get all the bands on there. So kind of look for those announcements, and we'll put the links out. And there'll be Orbit Room. They'll be selling hot dogs and have a little beer garden. You can still bring coolers and food, and then Billy's Party Taco will be out there. So the goal is just kind of, a few hours on a Sunday evening, not late, come out, still get home for dinner if you want. And we're not risking $10,000 on an event.
Can you come by boat?
Yeah, you can come by boat. We'll still have that mooring area open for the boat. So you can do that. You can also anchor out by the swim area and come in. So yeah, so a little bit more information coming on that.
Good idea. I like it.
All right. Next up, we do have the haul truck bid opening. We bid out the haul truck. It's a I'd have to look at what it was, like a 1978 or an 82 UK haul truck. It's what we bought when we initially had the dredging operation in 2009 from Kenny Clark. We ended up renting a haul truck. Well, we bought a haul truck that we used for a handful of years when the transmission went out on this one, because they're big money. So we rented one, sold that off after we used it and recouped our money. So this one's just been sitting there for 5 or 6 years and it's starting to get vandalized. I've called up a handful of different people, including CNC Equipment, who does have a bid on it here. I've talked with them, and then another cat scrapyard. And they essentially said with its running, it would cost us likely $5,000 to $8,000 to get rid of it, because they'll have to bring in a dozer and the haul trucks and everything to move it. So they said essentially somebody will buy it and use it for scrap or spare parts. So we did have a bid out for this when we sold the push boat and the barge. We did not receive any bids on the haul truck during that time. So we rebid that out. Those were due on the 16th, and we had 2 bids for that haul truck. So these companies would either take it in the bid that required 90 days to remove it off the property. But it's something either we have somebody else give us the money to take it, or it's something that we're ultimately going to pay to get rid of.
So they're basically bidding salvage.
Correct.
Salvage value.
Where's it located?
It's at our Possum Trot disposal site on North Shore Drive there.
I guess I didn't know you had that out for bid again.
Yeah, because we didn't get any bids before, and then it's just sitting there. I feel like every year it sits there, another window gets broken or something.
Yeah.
Something
See what we got.
vandalized just happened. So the first bid that we have is from Facilla is the name on here. From Phil Facilla, for $751. And then we have C&C Equipment, which is located over in Brown County. And C&C Equipment has a bid of $1,011. So we're not required to accept bids. These are good for 90 days. But I think ultimately, if we don't get rid of it, we're going to end up paying a few $1,000s to get rid of it.
Let's get rid of it.
Is there any?
I don't know anything about it really.
So
Well,
yeah.
we had talked about it, it's, just scrapping it. Somebody came in and vandalized broke all the windows, even the push boat that we bought and all that.
And then we had the front differential went out under Bob Madden's tenure here, and then the transmission went out when we were dumping on a hill 6 years
what
or
is
so
this?
ago.
It's like a triaxle, or what is he talking
It's an off-road. It's an articulated haul truck, so it's an off-road haul truck, but it is not running
It's worse, scrap is it's worth.
Take the
And that's more than I would have given, because it's a lot.
$1,000.
Well, that was the thing, and C&C, when I talked with them, they go, "You're going to be surprised if you try to get rid of that one." Bro.
And they're likely to haul it off and take it to their yard.
Yeah, they said they would use it. They have the equipment to get it there, and then they said,
And they're gonna be insured too, or a private individual.
yeah, so they're going to part it out as well. I'm sure. So, if there's not any discussion, I'd recommend that we approve the bid for $1,011 for C&C equipment.
So we need a vote
For the haul truck. Yeah.
motion.
Motion?
Second.
Okay. Motion seconded. If there's no further discussion, we'll take a vote on that. All those in favor of selling that piece of junk for $1,100, signify with an eye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No one's opposed? Okay. Motion passes. We will sell it.
All right. And it'll be good just no longer since our seals go out.
We're basically just paying for someone to haul it off, basically.
Paying somebody else to get rid of it instead of us paying, yeah.
Yeah.
Next, we have the Brown County Community Foundation funds. I don't think Debbie was at the meeting when we initially motioned for that. It was over the winter time. We stated that we would close out the Brown County Community Foundation, just keep the one in Monroe County since they're essentially twin organizations, bring in those funds, and then ultimately come back with the board looking at projects.
Well, I would add to that we were notified by them that it was inactive and that we were going to need to do something with it. And that was their suggestion, that we withdraw all the funds.
Yeah, essentially, I said since we weren't using it, it was inactive, and ultimately after a certain amount of time, those funds would be divvied up to other similar funds. So we did receive those. I sent out an email to Mike Blackwell and Malcolm McClure asking if they had any recommendations for the usage of the funds. Malcolm stated that he would like to see the funds utilized for future hydraulic dredging projects and disposal site work. Mike Blackwell came and said he would recommend that a portion of the funds be used for the area east of Ellis Point that was not completed during the hydraulics. So I do have a map of those areas. So we can get a visual on there. So here's the map of the east end areas. I have two maps on here. One is our bathymetric from this past year, 25. The right one is the sediment removal project, our different dredging zones that we created that map back in 2006, just for reference for numbers. So the areas that have been recommended by Blackwell, and we do have Carol Gentry here, who is in that area as well, is essentially this green triangle. And this was in the area that was hydraulically dredged up to that extent. When the barge was on the water, we ran out of the capacity in the overflow pond. So they have requested to use some of those funds for mechanical dredging to work in that area. The other ones are based on depth and access there to different freeholders. So I know we have gotten a couple calls from residents in District 7 regarding what I have marked as this Zone 1, which is the entrance around Little Africa from Bean Blossom Creek into that channel, which also at normal pool has about 2.5 feet of water, 3 feet of water. And then these.
And how many residents are back there?
I would say approximately 70. Would you agree with that, Mike, in Chitwood?
That's very close, Adam.
Okay.
And then that 2 and 3 are just the ends of these zones 134. That's one on the north, which are boating access channels. And that was just areas that we didn't get to the hydraulic dredger in those areas. So I do want to kind of open this up for discussion. The ultimate goal from the Brown County and from that funds was to maximize benefit to the lake users as a whole. So I guess I would like to, Mike Blackwell had requested and mentioned Carol coming up to talk about that project. So does that sound good?
Yeah. Well, she's coming up. You've got what, about $50,000?
Yeah, we've got, I feel it's like,
Typically, how much does that move?
well, depends on the price that we get when we bid that out. But the current barge load is $3,000 or approximately
Well, for something like that, it'd be more like 2750.
2750. I mean, so
So that's 100 yards.
that's approximately 100 yards. Yeah. So what is that? 20.
$7 a yard.
Yeah. So it's approximately 20 barge loads that you could get. When you're in areas like that, where if it's very shallow, when we were dredging, if you were cutting 3 feet of sediment, so you're bringing it from 2 feet to 5 feet, you would essentially could cut a 40-foot wide channel by about 4 to 5 feet of length if you're removing that depth there.
So do you know how big one would be, or the little triangle by Mike's house there?
If we were to do all that, I mean, it would exhaust.
Yeah, I'm sure it would.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Carol, go ahead.
So
Can I ask one other question? Some of these areas would not be able to be reached by hydraulic dredging. Is that true? I mean, because we are talking about the cost of the mechanical being, significantly more. It's too bad we ran out of space, but are all these able to be hydraulically dredged, or some can only be mechanically, Adam?
That zone 3 on there, you can ultimately reach hydraulically. Zone 2 would need to be primarily mechanical to get back in that area without wiping out all the lotus, which we do not want to do. It's very beneficial. We need to keep those patches there, and we do have our maintenance lines. Zone that number 1 would need to be mechanical for at least around the tip of Little Africa with that size of equipment that we had. Now, if you cleared out that area, a hydraulic barge could likely go in the channel between Little Africa and Chitwood, but probably for that first couple hundred feet would need to be done mechanically just from width restrictions.
All right, thank you.
Now me?
Yes.
Okay. So, just to kind of back up a little bit, I came and made this proposal last fall after meeting with Brown County Community Foundation. Our area, Salmon Harbor Cove, and then District 7 in general, is actually trying to develop a public-private partnership where we raise part of the money and then we look for other sources so that we're not coming to you, asking you to pay for an entire project. And that's exactly what we did starting in 23 and 24, where we raised our own money. You approved that triangle as a dredge priority. It's along the Lotus maintenance line. It is a lake area. We were willing to pay for it ourselves because we were getting the price of the hydraulic dredging. Unfortunately, as we've said, we got about half of it done and the pond filled up and we had no other options. So we are currently investigating two different things. One would be the actual channel that goes around through Salmon Harbor, and we've contracted with a hydraulic dredger that's handheld, and we will be pumping that into a farm field. We will be paying for that ourselves. So I'm not just coming here telling you what I need from you exclusively. We are trying to come up with some of our own solutions. However, with it being a triangled area that needs to be done mechanically, we can't do the whole thing ourselves. I still have $16,000 left from the money that I raised before for the hydraulic project. And my request last September was for $30 of the $54,000 that was in the Brown County Fund. It felt like this project satisfied the intent of the fund. My original hope was that we could have an ongoing project fund at Brown County that would allow us to do ongoing projects. We have to change the parameters and make sure that our class, is that what they call them, Adam, is large enough. And so that's.
Yeah, they essentially said the type of funds to
Right.
work for.
So it might work to do like all of Chitwood. So we're going to continue to work on that in the future. But for now, with this fund, and with Mike's approval, I'm just restating my request from last year for that money to mechanically finish off that area.
Will that money finish it off?
Well, no, we'll have to raise our own. It'll get us about halfway there. And so I am meeting with the homeowners on May 2nd, but I don't have, there are several things I didn't have. I didn't have, a vote from this board on whether we could have part of the Brown County money. I don't have hard numbers yet from Steve Werner, although $2,750 a barge load, that does sound like a pretty hard number. So we have to do some math and figure it out. And then I have to go to these people and tell them, this is what we have, and here's what it's going to cost, and see what I can do. So I'm threading this from both ends.
Remember correctly, a significant portion of the Brown County funds came from the homeowners.
They all came from the homeowners in that area, but a significant portion came from one individual.
Yeah.
She will not personally benefit from this, but yes, that is true.
But she's already been, we did cover her on the hydraulic dredging, right? I think you said
Right.
that.
She did
Yeah.
not contribute it for that purpose. She contributed it wanting to help the lower areas
Right.
in Brown County. Yeah, that was her
Hey,
main
Adam,
motivation.
can you not share that screen for just a second?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any other questions for me? I mean, I feel like I do this every year. I come for you with my new project plan, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. So
Okay, so the triangular area, though, is that then, you're wanting an open boating area there? I mean, cause you already have the access, right? I mean, you're able.
no, we don't. But as the sediment that came through the channel is actually clogging the channel at Hangabelt's Point, and so we will have to pay probably the handheld dredgers, the submersibles. We'll probably have to turn that corner. I don't know how far the barge can get in along the Lotus maintenance line. So it's a both and, not an either or. I've got the guys from Affordable Pond kind of on an open-ended contract to see how far they can get, depending on the money that I raise, coming along the Lotus maintenance line. And then to be honest with you, Les, I've just got my fingers crossed that those two projects will meet.
But my question is, are people able to get in and out in their boats? I mean, is there a channel there?
I'm gonna
Not-
tell you,
depends on
we were
water
just
level.
talking earlier about the drought. I would say where my house is, where Carol's house butts up to mine, Vince and Ann, Vince Britt and Ann Robleski, and then 5 or 6 other people out of our channel, we won't get in there this year. We probably have a foot of water in there now. So,
And
the
this is
answer
the
is no.
triangle area. This
No,
this
so
would
what he's
help
talking
you.
about, we're paying for ourselves. We will pay ourselves to do the channel. The triangle is in a cove where it's lake sometimes of the year, but the lotus do encroach quite a bit. Last year, they got way too close based on lake levels there. I had fishermen, and it is a very active fishing area. I had fishermen into my dock, between my dock and my seawall, because there just was not a good passable area along the lotus maintenance line. Now, when they come and spray it, you can see it clearly because it's dead vegetation. And so we don't tend to get as many boats hung up in it, but it's an ongoing problem. It's going to have to be done. And when I came here in, I believe it was the proposal in 2024, with the hydraulic dredger, there was not a question about the usability of this. We just didn't get it done. And so now we have to come up with another solution.
So you're saying though, as far as your access goes, you have that part covered, the channel.
The channel, yes.
And so
There
what is
wasn't any-
the benefit, what is the benefit of expanding out?
Because cutting a channel into a cove that's slowly filling in just means we have a deep channel. We still can't get to the lake.
I think the reason it never came up in terms of like usability or benefit of freeholders and everything, my recollection is just that you guys wanted to do this section, you decided you wanted to do this section, and you were going to pay the money to do the section. So I don't think that the board or Adam ever really considered or questioned you on how much is this going to benefit everybody, because we were just like, sure, you can use them. And I don't know, Adam, what are you thinking about this? Like, I mean, I guess I just think we need to benefit the most freeholders we can in the Brown County area with the Brown County Foundation money in areas that we would not be able to hydraulically dredge.
So we were exempt, this area south of the creek was exempt from the last hydraulic project. Zones 4 and 5 went all the way up along the top, and on Adam's map today, went all the way to his little triangle that he shaded in 3. So all of those were dredged as Zone 5. There were no zones south of Bean Blossom Creek. So there were no zones technically in District 7 in the hydraulic project. And so when I came in 2023, I was told that the zones were fixed. There was some debate about whether that Lotus maintenance line south of the creek got skipped. Maybe it did. It doesn't matter. That was 3 years ago. So our only option for keeping ourselves open and access to the lake was to do it ourselves. So I spent 2 years raising money, and the price that we were quoted hydraulically was something we could afford. And even through the summer, Adam did his best to monitor the pond levels, and as late as like July, he and I both felt like we were gonna be okay. And it wasn't until about a week or two, and then the first 2 days of hydraulic dredging, that it became very obvious we were not going to have capacity. And so now I had to go back to the drawing board to keep this cove open, because the people on the channel are willing to dig their channel, but it goes into a cove along the Lotus maintenance line that is exactly like the ones at the top of Zone 5 in District 6. It's just,
I guess I'm still not understanding though, why do you need the whole triangle? I mean, what?
In fact, do you want the whole triangle out?
Yeah.
Because of the fact that the Bean Blossom Creek is going to dump, if you
so
took
we
that triangle out,
left
that
the
would be the
peninsula
first
to
wide
prevent
spot
that.
the stream comes to.
We
And
left
that's
the
where
peninsula to prevent that.
I'm sorry?
we left a peninsula to prevent Bee Blossom Creek from going into that cove. So there is a peninsula that is, it's underwater now. And so it's not helping me as of April because it's not deep enough yet. But we don't get that backflow that we did. But this Lotus maintenance line, when the water floods in that direction, I just soon not have to dig it every other year. And so, when we talked to the engineers, that was their recommendation. We made that original map based on their recommendations.
I'm still not understanding do you want the whole triangle because you feel that contributes to filling in the channel?
So it's when you say the whole triangle, it's not a huge area. You can see the line where it stopped, where the hydraulic dredger stopped, and you can go from that width to a point at Jim Hengeveld's seawall, whatever that is. And then we will be dredging from there through the channel with the handheld. So yes, we need that area because you can't turn and get through there and get to that deep water along the side of Ellis Point unless that's dug out.
So the triangle, that area could be hydraulically dredged. It's connected to the lake as far as the potential for hydraulic dredging. What's the depth when you get around Hingefeld, kind of between your house and Hingefeld?
About 18 inches right now.
In the actual access channel right there is?
Yeah. I mean, I have not gone out and done it. I can tell you what it was at the end of last year. We were between 18 inches and a foot. When you did the drawdown and we could see how deep the V in between, it was not what I was expecting. I really expected to have some more depth in the center. That whole area dried out in the drawdown. If it had been colder, we could have probably walked on it, but it was muddy.
So what would be more beneficial to the users there currently? Focusing on the triangle or using, you said the suction dredging would be able to get inside the cove, essentially to the mouth of the cove.
He's currently contracted to come past Hengeveld's dock. Along my seawall is a very shallow 8-10 inch area that we are not going to bother dredging. And it goes probably 40-50 feet into that. So we'll be dredging the outside part of it where they fish along the Lotus maintenance line. So to get from that point where that handheld dredger stops to where the previous hydraulic dredger stopped, I don't know. I'm not good with distances. I didn't go out and measure it.
A couple 100 feet.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah. It's about a half a football field, maybe.
Could you put the map back up? So
Yeah.
I think that would help.
Adam, I guess my thing about, I don't know, is what are we trying to make a decision tonight? Like what are we at? It seems like we've got differing opinions between Malcolm. I mean, Brown County's a big area. So, we have this request, and I guess I'd sort of be looking for Adam as the manager's recommendation about, where we should use this Brown County money. I think, Malcolm had originally suggested that we put it in the construction account, which we did, and use it for future dredging project. There's a lot of people in Brown County, so what's the biggest need here, I guess, is what the issue is.
And I guess I would like to see data, which we can go take. Like, it's not we have to pay for an engineering firm. I'd like to go out and probe in the access channel from that cove to essentially Carroll's dock to see how much is there. I need to look at how much sediment is there and what it would cost and decide if it's
how much volume.
Yeah, so we need definitely to look at the sediment loading there, because if we're cutting a 50-foot straight channel, then it doesn't seem worth it if we could cut out an access channel or utilize those funding for that area with the hydraulic.
at a lot cheaper price. I mean, that's kind of it,
Yeah.
like,
So Carol, is the problem that you don't have enough width? It looks like it's 4 to 6 feet deep.
Yeah,
Is where it
so-
shows. Is it the width between your property or Mike's property, whoever that is, and the green?
Oh, here, sure.
So the cove is this entire area. And right now, this looks like this. Right now, this looks like all water. This is what we are dredging ourselves. And this right here, it doesn't really go up to here because I think so this triangle was the original triangle, Adam. That doesn't include what we took out already.
This mapping is this is the post hydraulic dredging.
Because this is over to here, yeah, so we got it to here. We basically need this right here. Because this, in the summer, this comes all the way over here. The lotus come all the way over here and you can't back out of anybody here. These people can't get out.
So it's a width problem. It's not a depth problem there?
Well, I mean, what is the difference?
Well, your boat runs aground as you're trying to get out, or you can't get two boats to pass each other.
No, you can't.
Okay, well, all right.
But
That's
the reason
legitimate.
they
I'm
can't
just
pass
curious.
each other is because this is not deep enough.
Right.
Well, I'm not asking you to dig all of that.
No, I
If you just widen this, wouldn't that solve the problem? If this was just wide enough for a couple boats to pass and you don't need to open that whole area up.
Perhaps. I'm not sure we're all talking about the same thing.
I'm just having trouble, why do you need this? If you got boats that there's numerous people have boats here, and if they could get in and
So
out.
this line would take off my dock and everybody else's. So I don't know what this blue line is. I don't know what this.
Adam,
blue
you need
line-
to do some analysis on this and let us know what.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what we need. So
So the problem for me is I've got people coming June 1.
I mean, what?
I have dredgers coming June 1. And
Oh.
I to do this. I don't know where to tell them to stop
Got it.
because I don't have enough money to mechanically do this. And I had requested this money. It was sitting idle for 6 years. And when I requested it last fall, it didn't seem to be a problem. You seem to be more concerned that I would be having an ongoing fund, which I stopped doing. So,
Yeah. Is it?
I think,
I feel that we're being a little bit too, like, hyper focused about this triangle and a little too literal about this triangle. Like maybe talk more about the goal, right? So they're paying for that dredging there. Are we all okay with the overall goal of money going to while they're actually doing it with, like, we want to make it so that there's a channel for everybody in there to get out. Like, let's not, it may not be exactly that triangle, right? But the idea is that there is a passable channel coming out, connecting their area to the main lake, not like this triangle is exactly what it's gonna be. I think I'm in agreement that money should go towards that, and I think we have to, Adam can keep an eye on, what's going on there, but I think that the treasury would understand the goal of we need to have this path. We're sort of like hyper focused on the shape and size. I don't know.
yeah, and you can, those tight contour lines is the current boating access channel. So there is depth in that access channel until you get about to this area.
but that boating access channel was privately created by myself and Jeff Scott and J.R. Sarpa, where we hired Shannon McCullough to come out and we paid him to dredge that ourselves.
right, because we have a policy along of the board that we are not going to fund access dredging.
Correct.
And they dredge
Correct.
around.
What I
Focused on what benefits the most people for the boatable areas. So that's where I'm like, what's the most critical area for Brown County?
And I guess what I'd like to see is, I need to look at the numbers. So if we say we utilize this money and we were able to widen this channel right here by 40 feet, but you're only getting 50 feet long worth of channel versus we utilize the money to clear out that whole area. When we have the hydraulic on the water again, it's $6 per yard. I think it's something that's got to be considered.
How deep is number one there, by the way?
I mean, this area is Mike Dubo back there some. I mean, so here's the 3-foot contour line, 2 feet. And this is at essentially normal pool when we did this. I mean, so it's about 2 feet deep there. Once you get into like late August, July, your pontoon boats are dragging there as well.
Yeah, I mean, but that is one that seems to serve most people, you know. But I think we do need to look at the criteria that we set up for, you know, what's our parameters here, you know? And we said we're not doing private access stuff, and so, you know, we need to, it's gotta be the common boating areas.
Well,
you know?
we did say with regard to these funds that when they were donated, the intent behind them was to focus in Brown County area.
Mhm.
So we did state that we would utilize these funds
Yeah, these are not
essentially for.
These are not your funds, Let's. These are not like
access.
These are the Brown County funds that were raised by the people who live in this area.
But even this area is an access channel. I mean, so that would be potential. I mean, we just gotta decide what is the most practical or the.
Mike, this is your district. What do you think?
Well, the triangle works more like a sediment basin than it does access. What it does is it collects no different than what section 219, 220, and 218, when we dug those sediment basins, you know, we're trying to collect the sediment before it, you know, disturbs the 11 houses that are all the way at the end of the channel. So it works both as access and as a sediment basin, because we have sediment that comes in from the polling farm that we put the weirs in, and then we have sediment that comes in from the creek. So we do need that sediment basin in there, which is what the triangle is, and then obviously we're paying. I don't know. I still owe money to Carol to get up to speed so that I can get dredged out this year. My boat won't park at my dock this year until we get dredged. So we do need this money. And since we're not meeting till June 20th, I would just like for someone just to help us out, make a recommendation so that we can get that money, get us dredged, and you know, we won't ask for any more money. The Brown County Foundation, it was a good thing, but
Froze up.
What's that?
You froze up. You said the Brown County money was a good thing, but
Well, I don't know if Alice really knew how to get, you know, the LLCD. And I know you people have met. I've spoken to her many times. So has Adam. But now that this money has been put into our hands, we would like a portion of it to clean that area up that we were supposed to have dredged. And then certainly, I think Malcolm can, you know, could use some of the money too. But
so
because
how
I
much
remember,
are you asking for?
that's what Carol's got that.
Original request was for 30,000 because I was using some very rough numbers. I haven't gone back to the homeowners to ask for more money. I didn't ask for money in 2025. And so it's going to be a hard sell next month. But going forward, I think this needs to be something that especially my district and maybe Malcolm's needs to consider, a bit of a public-private partnership where the LLCD meets us partway and the homeowners contribute to their own well-being. And so I was really hopeful that this particular project could set that precedent. That when you see that large blue area right now that kind of looks like a whale. This time of year, that is all flooded and the sediment is all coming in. So that sediment basin or whatever, I don't understand the terminology. Adam helps me mostly with that. But anything that's taken out there doesn't end up going around Ellis Point into where we're actually getting shallow again.
So and one thing that I kind of, so say we cut this area, which is the area that did not get to the hydraulic dredging. And then with the suction dredging that's coming in that you guys are doing, how confident are you that you are going to be able to make the turn in this area? And the reason I ask that is because if we clear out in this area mechanically now, and then that does not make it far enough around that corner, well, then you still have that.
So the hump.
You still have a pinch point with no depth.
So I talked to James
and you're
Clymer.
not creating access.
I've talked to him twice, and the original. See, it's very scary to sign a contract for $22,000 when I'm sitting on 16. So, I talked to him about stopping at that point, and then I called him again and I said, you know, if we get more money and I can get the mechanical dredger to come this far, can you make that turn, go past Hangeveld and go around that, you know, 6-inch shallow area that's along my seawall? He, via text message, told me he did not see that being a problem. We also had to ask Harry Poling if we could put a second bag in his yard. Because for those of you that don't understand the process, we will be pumping it into these large permeable bags that stand about 3 to 4 feet tall, and they're about 60 feet wide, and then the water slowly comes out. You break up the bag and then you spread the dirt. And so we will be putting it in, if you go up and across the street, Adam, with your cursor into Harry Poling's, right there. We're putting it over there on the far side of the weirs.
Since there's a clock ticking on this, you need an answer by June 1st. Can we
Or
just?
I can't do it.
Yeah, can we just authorize Adam to use his judgment to figure out what needs to happen there? And then if it's less than $30,000, just go ahead?
What I would like to see is how far they get with that. What I don't want to have happen is they come in with the suction hydraulic dredging, they make it right to this corner, and then we have a 100-foot stretch of less than 2 feet of water while we're digging out away from that access channel. So we still, like, if in the triangle area, so if we're digging out in this area and that the suction dredging can't get around here, well, then you still have this pinch point where Mike will not still be able to get off his
Nobody will
boat
be, nobody will be.
out here while we're digging in an area.
So would you recommend then we would?
From a functional
They can go
access
as far, they can
standpoint,
go as far as we can pay them to go. I mean,
from a
if
functional
I had
standpoint,
$100,000, they would do the whole cove. But that's just, you can't do that.
yeah. I mean, I would like to see how far they get. So they're planning on starting this
2 months.
soon. I would like to, it'd be nice to see how far they can get so we're not dredging in this area and Mike still can't get off of his boat because we didn't.
But so then if we
dredge
don't,
that
let's say
access channel.
so that means we have deep and deep, and we have I understand we have something in the middle. And I may have to figure out another way to raise money, but if we don't have any of the Brown County money, I can't do any of it.
Here's
I
a
need to be-
thought. Maybe I think we're just talking all around it, and I think it really is going to rest with Adam kind of getting, with you, and Mike suggested maybe Malcolm could use some of the money too. I mean, we've got, is it just District 6 and 7 that are in Brown County? Is part of 5 in there also?
No,
it's just 6 and 7.
Okay, so maybe, and the thing about it is from a money standpoint, we're not just going to write a check to like Carol Gentry, or Mike Blackwell. What we need to do is write our check to whoever you do hire. I mean, it gets a little dicey because we are kind of responsible, but I'm just wondering, do we just say we'll spend half of it? If what happens, if if what Adam wants to happen happens, that you can have up to half of that amount, and then the other half of the amount will save for District 6 or something. I mean, it'll be close to $30,000.
Hey, what I could offer, maybe we go out with you, Adam, and probe these areas and get a define and come up with an estimate. And I think we could even get our number lower cost wise, because we're so close to the Possum Trot site.
Mhm.
I mean, a push boat only goes so fast, but we're close there.
I think that's the best, just so we can make sure we're maximizing the goal of keeping access open in the deep water in that area.
And Deborah, just to qualify, I was never asking for this money personally. This was always gonna go to Steve Werner or Shannon McCullough or somebody who does the actual work. And the affordable pond contract that I signed we've raised that money. So that was our leftover money from, if you're questioning who paid for what. Was that your question?
I think it's just the intent of we're not cutting a check to a person. We'll have
Right, no. Well, the check that I write from our HOA will go to James Clymer at Affordable Pond, but that will not be the Brown County funds.
Well, let's go out. Let me get out with Steve, probe the area, and see what we're going to get accomplished. Not saying you'll get the bid, but we'll have to, look like what. But we can know functionally what we can accomplish with that amount of money.
I mean, can't you call a special teleconference? Can't we call a special meeting or something? Or can't we authorize Adam or with obviously the treasurer, the president, with the officers to approve whatever? I mean, I just still go back to, we got to benefit the most people. I mean, that's
I
kind
think
of
we
criteria
can
set out.
authorize the expenditures in Brown County pending exploration of the sediment. I mean,
So just so I'm clear, all you really need is to widen the area. You're not asking
No, I'm
to
not going
have
into
this
the
big
Lotus.
pond out in front.
No, I'm not going into the Lotus Field. It would be, what is, you said that the barge cuts how wide a track off the end of where we've already
I
dressed?
mean, it cuts
40
about
feet.
40, it's 36 feet wide, so you cut about 40 to 45 foot wide on that.
40
That's-
feet wide, and it needs a 48-foot, it needs 4 feet on each side, so it takes a 48-foot path when it comes in.
That would probably be sufficient. We can't go beyond the Lotus maintenance line anyway, because to Adam's earlier point, we want to maintain the Lotus. But this time of year, they're not up and all that sediment is washing into that pit. And so we need to get it dug out. I don't know what it's going to cost. You could probably get better measurements and do the math, but.
Yeah, it sounds like we just need more information and, at some level, we're in this little partnership thing and we're going to be responsible to some level. So Adam's got to be comfortable with it.
And we can get out there, probe, and come back, and then we can. Yeah, and the other thing would be to authorize half in each of the Brown County districts at the allocation of their board member, and that's what we've talked about before. Is that they recommend the location.
Yeah,
I think that was.
so that seems fair to me.
So does the timing of when, like, your private people, does it matter if they go first or whoever won the bid went first?
It'd be nice for the hand dredger to go first, so we can see how far they get to dictate where we are going to cut a channel.
So
Well, then you
to that, if I can.
Yeah.
They are a bit open-ended. They will go until I run out of money.
Yeah.
So right now, to the end of Hangabelt's wall is the 22,000, and I have that raised. I have commitments for that, so I'm good there. If I knew, and maybe I can do it this way, maybe if Adam comes out and he and Steve give me a little bit harder number on what this 48 feet wide area is going to be, X number of dollars, and then potentially have well, if my math is right, 27,000-ish
Yeah.
from Brown County, then I can go to my neighbors and say, okay, we owe Werner 40,000. 27 of it came from the Brown County Community Foundation. And I'm gonna have to ask each of you to give me another $1,000 because I'm $13,000 short. I can't go, I just need better numbers. Because right now I'm saying to people,
Yeah, you do need
no, you
better
can't get
numbers.
out. Pardon?
So for the two board
Said we
members,
need
that-
better numbers.
for the two board members that this pertains to, would you two be okay just splitting that? Would that be something that would be palatable to you, Mike? If we, because I mean, it's kind of the easiest. Like, or do you want to have better numbers to try to get more? I mean, I think I'd be comfortable fully going
I think
ahead.
I think it's only fair to split it, to be honest.
And
Because-
that is the fair thing to do. However, and I think Malcolm agrees, 90+% of this money came from 3 people in our district. But Malcolm and I, we will work together. I like what Malcolm said earlier. I got a phone call. I couldn't pay attention, but I like what he said to authorize Adam to have an approximate amount of money. Let him do his due diligence with Steve Warner, see how much is there, how much needs to be taken out, and give us his best estimate. And if it's $30,000,
So what if we
You know,
were
so
able to
be it.
say, what if we were able to say tonight that it would be at least, so you have numbers that you can walk away with? What if we were able to say, you'll get at least half of it, and then pending further discussions with Mike and Malcolm and
Another priority.
then that number may flex, it may shift if the people that actually have skin in the game agree to it, which would be you, if you looked at the numbers, you looked at what needed to come out of that one spot. But then you could leave here saying, okay, we know we at least have half of this.
And I need, yes, because I need to be able to say something we're having a meeting of our neighborhood. And I've had several requests. Typically I raise $1,000 per home per year. I skipped last year, so I've said at a minimum, you will each owe $2,000. And bear in mind, this is voluntary. This is not an HOA where I can, but we have had in the past nearly 100% participation.
And I really like this because when we initially had this discussion, we were saying the funds will be utilized for Brown County. If both directors in Brown County come in, put their name on it, then that is the input from the elected officials that are dictating how these monies are utilized in there.
So will 15 though, because you were asking for 30, could you still do something with 15?
No, it's not 15 because it's 50.
It's like 50.
It's 54 divided by 2 is 27.5.
So I think we would guarantee half and then.
What?
The total number is 50, what was it, 54?
54,000 came out of the
They were
grants.
all 30 of the 54.
Oh, I thought only 30 was available.
You're still getting 27.
I'd asked for 30
Okay.
because I was shooting darts
Yes.
and
And then-
I knew I was gonna need at least 30.
Yeah.
If I get 27.5, I have 2 or 3 people in my district that I can,
Got it.
But then-
Okay.
I'll
but then
personally give it to them.
If we do that, and we split it, then somebody like me who's over in Lakeview Hills and has nothing to do with this can bow out of the conversation and the actual
Right.
relevant parties
I'm
can
fine
make the
with that.
decision.
I like that. All right. So the motion that I'm hearing is that we would motion to utilize the Brown County funds in Brown County at the discretion of the District 6 and 7 board members, authorizing at least half of the funds in each district. Anything shifted from that would have to come from a consensus of the District 6 and 7 board members.
Yes.
yes, thank you.
So do we need a motion for that?
Yes.
I will motion that.
Whoever's writing that down, you gotta figure out what to say.
Do we have the text correct? Are you good with that?
We'll finesse the wording on that, but the intent in Brown County to
Split the money.
between the two.
Okay. All
I think the biggest thing you need to just say is, I just think it needs to be split between dredging projects for District 6 and District 7, like split in half. And can we make it like that?
So we have one motion. Do we have a second?
Well, can I second it? Or am I-
Okay, all
Or I
right.
recuse myself.
I need to recuse, I think, right?
Oh,
Yeah, I think you should.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Again, sounds like we've had adequate discussion.
Yeah.
So we'll take a vote. And all those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Anyone opposed? No one's opposed? Okay. And Steve has the.
You don't really do a lot of stuff.
What's the term?
Recused himself.
Recused, yeah, okay.
Actually, conflict of interest.
Yeah, right. Okay, so,
If I can just get the water pump, and push button, or the water pump. What does they cost?
okay, so
The fuel pump, around $3,600.
All right, well, keep us posted.
okay,
Sounds good.
so our next meeting is gonna be at Riddle Point Shelter House, 10 a.m. Okay, now, do we get sandwiches this time or?
June 20th. So what we talked about last fall was that we would just do a meeting now and do a standalone
Back like the creek.
freehold appreciation thing outside of that June.
Oh,
Because the
okay.
past couple of years we bought a ton of sandwiches and then.
No, yeah.
I showed up last year.
Well, I had my share, but.
I had to eat like 13 Jimmy John's.
All right, so do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, and we have a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, meeting is adjourned. All right,
Thank you guys.
all right.
Thank you.